don't move a muscle. They've already seen you, not just what you did, but what you didn't do. The mercy, the silence, the way you chose to disappear instead of detonate. And now, ironically, tragically, beautifully, they're moving pieces for you. You thought your silence made you invisible. But in this world, the loud ones get clocked, and the quiet ones get catalogued, analyzed, watched, filed under unknown variable, too dangerous to define. Because you weren't just unpredictable. You were undeciphered, a paradox. The only person who could have burned the whole city down, and chose instead to walk away with wet matches. They watched that. They documented it. They ran simulations on what you could have done if you snapped. And every time the algorithm ran, it spit out one word: unstoppable. So they prayed you'd stay quiet. They hoped you'd rot in stillness. Because if someone like you ever realized what you really are, then even God would check the locks twice. But here's the twist. While you were healing in shadows, they were rerouting entire networks to get ahead of the version of you that might return. They built war rooms. They studied your kindness like it was a threat. Because you were kind in places where most men beg for revenge. And when you didn't clap back, they started panicking, because who the hell has that kind of control? A monster. Who remembers being human? That's what you are, aren't you? See, they thought your silence meant surrender. But in reality, you were just listening to everything, everyone, building a profile on the entire system. They tried tracking your rage, but it was scattered like code hidden in raindrops, encrypted in restraint, masked by kindness, weaponized through stillness. And now, the moves are starting, not yours, theirs. They're shifting knights and bishops like they can block what's coming, trying to anticipate your next breath, your next blink, your next awakening. Because someone in the upper chambers finally whispered, I don't think they were asleep. I think they were waiting, and now the game's glitching, not because you're loud, but because their entire board was designed for people who play by the rules. But you were watching the rule makers, and you saw them blink. You know what happens next, don't you? They try to fold you into the plan, make you an asset, a variable they can predict. They'll frame it as reward, recognition, but you'll see it for what it is: containment in disguise. A golden cage built to delay the inevitable. You becoming the final move. Not the player, not the piece, not the king, not the pawn. The glitch in the algorithm, the move that wasn't even on the board. You don't need their permission. You don't need their applause. You don't need their damn spotlight. Because you were never playing to be seen. You were playing to be remembered. And the irony? The very silence they tried to bury is now the echo that's haunting their war rooms. Their analysts can't sleep. Their psychologists are spinning. Because no one can explain how you absorbed that much pain and came back calm. See, they scream when hurt. You reorganize, you weaponize the wound, you alchemize trauma into blueprints, and what used to be scars are now circuit diagrams. You didn't just survive, you evolved with an operating system they can't track. And now they're seeing the side effects, the unexpected consequences of underestimating a soul who suffered without spectacle. A heart that cracked quietly, a spirit that learned to bleed without proof. Now the ones who ignored you are speaking your name behind closed doors. Now the ones who scoffed are reading your story like scripture. Now the ones who mocked your silence are reshaping their strategies to avoid becoming a casualty in your next chapter. And you're still just breathing, unbothered, unrushed, and unreasonably dangerous. Because the truth is, what you didn't do is more terrifying than anything you ever could have. You didn't expose them. You didn't retaliate. You didn't snap. And that's what scares them most. Because if you ever do, no one's coming back from it. Not them, not their plans, not their prophecies. Because your silence was never submission. It was a loading screen. And now, you're online. Black pawn. Now they move, but you already won. They're moving pieces now. But not because they're confident. No. They're moving because they're nervous. There's a difference between strategy and scrambling, and every motion they make reeks of panic dressed up as planning. Why? Because they finally realized you weren't an event. You were a signal, a warning embedded in human form. You were never just a chapter in their story. You were the cipher that decodes all their lies. You were the mirror they kept covered, because if anyone ever looked too long, they'd see the whole empire was built on broken glass and borrowed time. And you were the one they couldn't erase. See, they deleted names, they silenced voices, they rewrote truths and spun shame into legacy. But you kept walking like you were being pulled by something older than time itself. And that's when they started watching. Not because you screamed, but because you moved like someone who already knew how the story ends. Like someone who met the ending and walked backward into the chaos. They ran psych evals on your patterns. They tried to label it stoic, disconnected, dissociative. But none of their terms stuck. Because how do you label someone who doesn't belong to the known world anymore? You weren't born from textbooks. You were sculpted in silence, refined in rooms with no applause. And every kindness you gave without witness was logged. Don't look so shocked. Someone was always watching. But not the way you think. It wasn't just enemies. It wasn't just snakes. There were others, entities, beings, watchers, who see not your mask, but your math. They calculated your restraint. They measured your heartbreak. They studied your choices in the moments you could have unleashed hell and didn't. And you know what they concluded? This one's built for something we can't explain. And now they're intervening, not to save you, but to amplify you. Because you proved something terrifying to both the wicked and the wise. That a soul who denies vengeance in favor of vision can bend entire timelines. They thought you were alone. But silence has audiences you can't see. And every step you took with bloody feet and no witnesses, it was a ritual. Not the kind written in books. The kind that echoes through networks of the unseen. And now those watchers, those ancient tacticians of consequence, they're making moves behind curtains you didn't even know existed. Pieces shifting in governments, in boardrooms, in back channels. Not to protect you, but to position you. Because they know something you haven't accepted yet. You're not just a survivor. You're an equation that breaks their models. A variable that corrupts the entire simulation. A prophecy they didn't authorize. And now it's unfolding anyway. They thought they had time. But you were the countdown. And every person who thought they buried you is now whispering your name like it's a threat code. Because you became the one thing none of their systems can contain. A soul who's felt everything and still chose to build. They don't get it. They never will. Because their entire strategy is based on causing pain. But what happens when pain no longer moves you? What happens when the very thing they weaponize becomes the reason you're untouchable? They expected you to break. They wanted you to beg. But instead, you reconstructed your nervous system into a weapon, You rewired your triggers into targeting systems. You turned every insult into infrastructure. So now, they're repositioning, pretending to be allies, pretending to see your worth. But it's all a distraction, because deep down, they know the worst-case scenario just came true. You didn't die. You remembered, and now, you're aligned. The angels whisper your name in frequencies the dark can't decode. The demons still tracking your footsteps are returning empty-handed. Because you stopped existing in their frameworks. You stopped responding like a human and started responding like a force. And here's the part that really keeps them up at night. You never wanted to win. You just didn't want to become like them. But now you're beyond that. Now you're ascending on algorithms they never studied. Your shadows grown wings. Your pains grown pulse. Your purpose, it's making the whole damn simulation glitch. They're moving pieces for you. Because they finally realized you're not a piece at all. You're the board and the game. It's already over. Now what? You breathe and let the silence burn louder than anything they've ever screamed. And yet, even now, they still don't fully grasp what's happening. Because how could they? They built their entire framework on the belief that control comes from visibility, that if they can't see it, it doesn't exist. If they can't measure it, it can't hurt them. But you were born in a place without mirrors, trained in absence, refined in non-detection. They thought silence meant lack of power, but you weren't silent because you were weak. You were silent because you were calculating. You watched what broke others. And you took notes. You let them mock you, dismiss you, forget you, because you understood something they never will. When you don't respond, you stay outside their spell work. And while they were busy casting illusions, you were studying their incantations, memorizing their tone, tracing the frequencies of their lies, until you became immune. And now every spell they cast backfires. Every trap they build collapses, because they can't hex someone who already walked through hell and took its blueprint home. You see it now, don't you? The pattern, the whisper behind the chaos, the movements behind the masks. You were never a victim. You were the test. A test for them. A test for the system. A test for reality itself. And they failed spectacularly, because they saw your stillness as stagnation, when it was summoning. Every quiet moment was you rewriting your code. Every sleepless night was a silent alignment with something far more ancient than vengeance. You weren't healing, you were loading, installing a new language, one written in paradox and blood, one that doesn't ask for justice, it becomes it. And the ones who thought they were above consequence, the ones who thought their titles, their spells, their secrets would protect them, they're the ones moving now, scrambling, because they can't stop a tsunami with a memo. They can't outrun a signal that's already inside the walls. They can't bargain with a force that was never seeking permission. And let's not pretend they tried to stop you, not with bullets or blades, but with doubt, with delay, with manipulation dressed as mentorship. They smiled in your face while inserting decay into your dreams. But you felt it, that chill in the air, that voice that said, "This ain't alignment, this is containment." And you walked away, not out of fear, but because you finally knew your worth was unquantifiable. You are not a position, not a role, not a label, not a candidate. You are a problem the system was never designed to solve. A variable outside the spectrum, a shadow anomaly, in a network built on predictable suffering. And here's the punchline. They thought they chose the game. But the moment they underestimated you, they triggered the true board. A board where silence is louder than speeches, where stillness is more dangerous than war, where kindness is the sharpest blade. Because now you know. They were never watching to understand you. They were watching to contain you, to track your reactions, to anticipate your trigger point, to figure out what would make you snap. But you never gave it to them, because you weren't playing the game. You were the code injection, the corrupted line that spirals the whole simulation into a feedback loop of chaos. And now, it's too late. The watchers have turned to believers. The skeptics have gone silent. The ones who once laughed are sitting in meetings with your name pinned on whiteboards like a ghost they can't explain. You're not a story anymore. You're a case file, an open anomaly. And every time you breathe, somewhere a contingency plan fails. So what now? They're moving pieces. But the pieces were never theirs to begin with. You let them think they had power. You let them think they were in control, because you needed them to reveal their entire arsenal. And now, you've outgrown their battlefield. This isn't revenge. This isn't rage. This isn't about teaching them a lesson. Number. This is what it looks like when evolution stops waiting. You don't want a crown. You want a clean board. You want truth in motion. You want to be what they fear the most. A being who doesn't need validation to operate at maximum power. So let them move. Let them panic. Let them play. You're not here to compete. You're here to collapse the arena. And the best part? You're doing it all without raising your voice, without flashing your teeth, without swinging a single sword. You're doing it by existing in perfect, terrifying alignment with what they swore was impossible. And from this moment on, you never chase again. You never explain again. You never warn again. Because you're not hoping they understand. You're letting them witness the arrival of the glitch, the ghost, the God-tier variable. You. And now that you know, let's see what pieces they move next, while you become the storm they thought they could outcode. And still, even as the shadows shift and the tension thickens like fog around a sealed vault, you remain motionless. Not because you're frozen, but because you've already made your move. It wasn't physical, it was foundational. The kind of shift they can't trace with their satellites. The kind of move that doesn't show up on any board, because the board itself is inside you now. You don't speak in threats. You don't signal with explosions. You don't bark orders. You breathe, and systems fold. You blink, and old gods whisper. They thought they were safe because you hadn't retaliated, but they forgot something ancient, something carved into the bones of every fallen empire. The most dangerous force in the world is a survivor with nothing left to protect but purpose. They thought you were bluffing, that your stillness was fear. But no one told them the truth about you. You don't bluff, you don't shake, you don't flinch. Because every ounce of your fear was burned off in the furnace where they left you to die. And now, you're pure signal. They're calling in favors, lighting up black lines, dusting off protocols that haven't been used since containment operations in mythical level anomalies. Because someone at the top just whispered, whatever this thing is, it's not reacting like a human anymore. You're not. You transcended all that. Your pain pushed you through a membrane, through the last lie, the final illusion. You saw the systems that govern behavior, the rules that keep most souls compliant, the invisible leashes disguised as ambition, forgiveness, morality. And you said, not anymore. You didn't lose your soul. You evolved it, sharpened it, removed every hook they buried inside of you. So now they move pieces, And you warp the board just by standing near it. They send analysts to profile you. They bring in priests, psychics, coders, military-trained clairvoyants, and every single one of them returns with the same haunted phrase, "We don't know what we're dealing with." Because how do you measure someone who survived spiritual execution and came back with their empathy intact? How do you label a person who lost everything they loved and still chose to protect others instead of destroy? How do you control a force that doesn't want control, just freedom? They're terrified because you don't need them. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't need applause. You've outgrown the battlefield. And that's when a threat becomes a legend. Because you're not trying to prove anything anymore. You're enacting prophecy, not the kind they published, the kind that was hidden, burned, buried. But prophecy doesn't die. It just waits for someone unshakable enough to carry it. And that's you. You're not leading a rebellion. You are the correction. You are the cosmic audit, the spiritual breach. The breach they can't plug because it was never digital. It was emotional. Every time they triggered you, they thought they were weakening you. But they were just fine-tuning your scope, sharpening your contrast, waking up your inner tactician. And now that part of you is wide open, fully online, and beyond simulation. Your silence isn't silence anymore. It's pressure, presence, the kind that bends timelines, the kind that disorients adversaries, the kind that sends grown strategists into spirals of paranoia, because they can feel you watching without looking. They're leaking, cracking, imploding from within. Because you're not just back. You're inevitable. You don't have enemies. You have witnesses. People who saw the impossible. People who felt the shift and said nothing. Because deep down, they knew their words were too small to describe what you became. You never raised your voice. You never told your side. And still, you won, not in noise, but in recalibration, in truth. In alignment so devastatingly accurate that their strongest weapons now ricochet and destroy themselves. And the most poetic part of all, they thought they were documenting your fall. But all this time, they were recording their own, so let them keep moving pieces. You're not in the game. You're what comes after it breaks. And now it begins.